Hey everyone, this is David. Welcome back behind the velvet rope. Let's just get right into it today because we are joined back. She's here again, the one and only psychic Raquel.
Hi, David. Hi, everyone. How are you doing today?
What is going on? How are you?
I'm doing well. You know,
Yes, well, that's good. I mean, I read something where the energy, what is this, like reverse Pluto or something weird is happening or it happened?
I'm not even quite sure. Normally, astrology is not my forte, but I do know that there's a lot of decrease in forward momentum right now. So I feel like in the decrease of forward momentum, we can really focus and stay present is really the directive that I've been receiving lately. So I haven't even looked into what planets are doing.
But
I
stay present.
stay present. Present is everything. Focus is everything. I feel like we always look to the future or we always look to the past, but we don't enjoy the moment in the present. So while we're doing this slow down moment, let's find time for joy in the present.
I feel like my whole goal in life, I have come so far, but I am someone who I do not live in the past. I do not have that gene. I don't want it. I feel depressed. I have it to like a fault that I don't even want to think about the past. It's probably not good, but I really have a habit of living in the future. And like, 80% of the things, what does they say? 85% of the things you plan out, good or bad, never, well, I mean, especially bad never happen. You worry about all these things. So, my whole goal in life is really to be present, and I've come a long way, but I have a long way to go.
We all do. Patience is necessary in living in the present, and I have no patience. So that's my life goal is to learn to be patient. And I grew up with dial-up, so you would think that I would have learned it by now.
I'm pretty good. Like I have friends that are not good. I'm pretty good. Like if we get there and there's a line, I'm like, who cares? I'm pretty good about your reservations at 8. Well, guess what? Your table's not ready. Just go sit at the. I'm pretty good with like just patience. I'm not good in business with patience. Then
That I
I'm
feel
a
like next to
nightmare.
you, right? I don't mind delays. If we go to a restaurant and things are like, okay, no problem, gives me more time to chat and feel the vibe and just kind of appreciate life, whatever. But when it's business, I'm like, here's the time set. We're supposed to have the meeting. Let's do this. I'm like you. So I feel like, yeah, maybe there's a great divide between professional patience and personal patience, where delays and inconveniences don't bother me as much as promptness of the person. As long as my party shows up consistently on time or I make an effort to show up on time, they make an effort to show up on time. Yeah, that
Me
type of courtesy
too.
is lovely. But delays at restaurants, whatever, it's gonna happen. I just try to let that go. But yeah, professional
Especially
life.
in business. Well, also before we get into it, I just want to say, everyone, the code still works. Use code VELVET, $20. You get a $20 reading for 35 minutes, which if you're doing the math is 57 cents a minute. So you can go on, request Psychic Raquel. All the good psychics are great. Use the code. It will be gone at some point, although I don't think people believe me anymore because the code has been, I keep getting it extended. So, but get your
Lucky
readings,
you.
guys. Get you
Lucky
right. $20. Can you imagine
listeners,
this?
that's absolutely unheard of.
I wish
You
I
know,
qualified for repeat readings. I'd be getting a reading every day for $20. Spend $100, have a weekly reading. We got a lot to get into
yeah,
today.
let's dive in.
Okay, I want to start with now we've talked about this woman before, I believe, but a lot has happened since then. Her name is Dorit Kemsley. So Dorit Kemsley, we talked about her, I believe, or maybe that was Psychic Robin. It doesn't matter. Lots of new things have happened to Dorit lately. So what do the cards tell you about Dorit's state of mind?
Everything is she's okay. So Dorit is beside herself right now in this area of anxiety and overthinking. Okay. Really trying to get her life back into place and back into her own control. I feel like she's trying to, I keep hearing the word scandal. She's trying to get away from scandal, even though she enjoys a bit of scandal. So it's kind of interesting because I feel like, as we spoke earlier about professional and personal, you know, professionally loves a scandal. Personally, cannot stand it because everything is kind of chaos. There's a lot of overthinking right now. She's going through things. She's trying to micromanage something that you can't micromanage. And I also feel like a lot of deception coming from her partner, which I do feel like they're not even in the same playing field at all. And things are about to get contentious. And I feel burned right now, like burned, you know,
Like
but I'm
Dorit's
also,
been burned.
yeah, like Dorit's been burned. I remember we spoke about her briefly. Um, when we were talking a couple sessions ago. But she was like on the other hand of like kind of like drama on the other side of things. Now this is her own personal drama, which is completely away from that. So I do know her energy, but she is feisty, 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 you know, and she feels really burned right now. And I feel like I keep hearing, I keep hearing an ex-husband or ex. I'm also feeling drowning money wise.
You
Money
do.
drowning. I feel drowning and I'm trying not to, I'm trying to act like everything is fine, but drowning. Okay. I just financially. So
Well,
what's, ooh,
okay, so she's going through a divorce. She was
okay.
separated for a while. So that's probably what you mean about, she is getting a divorce from her husband, PK, Paul Kemsley, of over 10 years. And so, look, there's this, well, we're going to get into him too. He was spotted kissing this woman who's not really his
Ooh.
girlfriend, and she filed for divorce like an hour later. But, like, was that what prompted her divorce, or like, was that a reaction, or was this in the works for a long time? Because they have been separated.
I
There's
feel
been,
like this has been in the works for a while. I feel like both Dorothy's been trying to like really kind of like self-manage and self-soothe things, you know, but she'll be damned to be embarrassed or burned. Like I said, she feels burned. I feel like she thought it was reckless for him to be photographed. You know what I mean?
is
Like
is that where the burn comes from mostly, or is
that's
it
from
is
the
there it
burn.
is?
I feel like that's the burn because this is a fresh wound. This feels like I just felt boiling water on my hand. It's like, oh, you know what I mean? Like really quickly. I don't know where that weird noise came out of me, but whatever. There's this like burn, and she already had the paperwork ready. It was just kind of like that giant red button, like when do we hit the button? When do we hit the button? And she was thinking about family and responsibilities and trying to have an outlook. I feel like she really tried to like make herself make this work because she didn't want to have a failed marriage. Is this her first marriage? I just feel like
Ye-
I don't want things like to happen again. Like I want to see things through. I don't want to see it
I
happening.
this is her first. It's not his first marriage, but it is
Okay.
her first marriage.
Okay. Because I just feel like I don't want this to happen. I don't want this to happen again. You know what I mean? And now be, now she's fear of a second, like another divorce. What if I get married again? Then there's a divorce. Now she's at the end. So I feel like it's just kind of she's the beginning of the grieving of the relationship itself. But she's like, she fought to like keep this marriage. She fought. And that was the biggest disrespect. Even though they were separated and they weren't together, she's like, "How could you allow that to happen?" So that was when she just hit
This
the
this
button.
picture really meant a lot to her, more than I'm thinking.
Everything. This picture was embarrassing. It took everything that she worked on and focused on and exhausted herself on trying to get herself back into being this marriage and motivated in this marriage and completely just put it into the wood chipper, you know? And so this was just her burn book now. You know what I mean? That was like the major picture.
I keep hearing about this burn book in this picture. Is she more upset? Like, is she upset about this picture and she's embarrassed? Or is she more upset about losing her actual marriage? And did she truly love this man, or were there other reasons for her?
I mean, I feel like the relationship was very complicated because there was a lot of different like needs being met, but also at the same time, she did want to have comfort in husband and the idea of family and what this relationship entailed. And I do feel like she has that mindset of like we're mature in a relationship, we take care of the relationship. So I feel like this picture just kind of like triggered was the match that burned everything. So she was already trying to like she just saw it as all of her work that she's been exhausted on. It's like dieting for like 3 months and then not losing a pound. You know what I mean? Everything, nothing worked, nothing happened. And that was just it. And I feel like with her, when she's done, she's done. Like she's done. This was the match. The picture was the catalyst. I feel like she is hyper focusing on the burn of the picture, you know what I mean? Then she's focusing on everything else going on in the space of things and the things that are telling her that this isn't he's got a lot of issues. We'll go into him in a few minutes, but like he's got a lot of things that he has to work on and his own personal boundaries and he's got a lot of demons that he's like focusing on too as well. And I don't feel like that he can be a husband right now. Not at least not a good one. you know, and because there was no partnership.
Right.
You
And this is, I mean, I asked too, because this is, they're both in Beverly Hills. Sometimes people, not to stereotype, and you're from LA, and Beverly
Yeah.
Hills care more about, what are the neighbors going to say than like, I'm truly hurt that I'm losing the love of my life or it's
Oh,
over.
no, absolutely. I feel like it's more like I think if we take out the nature of her, what are the neighbors wearing to like, what are they going to say? That's only a very part of this burn. I feel like it's more of the trigger of I'm losing this love. This love is over. Now he's hurt me. This is actually now I know it's over. And then before everything else, so she's focusing on the burn on a very personal level, where it's just a couple finding out somebody else is already with somebody else and having it so publicly lit up, in the flashing lights of everything, that to her is like even a higher temperature of a burn. So we go from like a first degree to second degree to this is like a third degree. We're not, you know what I mean? This is skin grafts. That's how bad she's burned. But it's not so much focus on what other people are thinking. It's more about the insult to the injury that she's focusing on. So she is kind of internalizing it into a very personal, private matter. Publicly, this scandal's everything. Remember, there's a professionalism to it. So her mind, she's like, ooh, this is going to be good. So I don't feel like she's publicly burned. I feel like it's more personally burned. So that's where it's kind of going into because I feel like she can market this. She can work this angle, you know?
Market this like she is on a show, The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and she
Yeah,
is coming back, and this is going to
yeah,
be.
let's add some drama. And drama sells. So professionally, she's like, I'm mortified. Air quotes. I'm mortified. But personally, she's absolutely gutted. Professionally, this is good. So she'll rise from the ashes, burning. So the lots of
And
smoke, right?
is she professionally? Because look, there's a lot of talk. There are a lot of pictures of no makeup and picking up the kids at school. And they just went to their son's baseball game like a few weeks ago. They're both dressed in all black. I mean, did they plan this? I don't know. They're not talking. They're social distancing. Like, is there this like, well, sometimes the paparazzi just happen to find out where we are. Whoops, we actually called them. That's how they found out. Do you think
Of
there's
course.
that? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's turn this into publicity. You know what I mean? And it's not a bad business strategy if you're trying to stay in the public eye. This is none of these divorces or anyone in this area is going to be a quiet thing. So if you're going to have to suffer personally, you might as well sensationalize it publicly if that's where your income comes from. Also, there's money struggles. So what do? We're going to sell this. You know what I mean? So I feel like they both have the idea of we're going to sell this. Even though I will tell you that that kissing picture was a massive oopsie. Was that staged? No.
Interesting.
Like, I don't feel like he did this to like throw daggers at her. I feel like that was a very as innocent as it can be. It was innocent. In his mind, we're separated. We're not together. You know what I mean? We're, co-parenting or whatever we need to do with the kids, but we're not legally bound. I mean, they're legally bound, but they're not bound by communication. Like they've like we're separated.
Yeah.
So he didn't think he was doing anything wrong. It was innocent. It wasn't to hurt her. So that's we'll take that off thing. I don't feel like he did this to like hurt her at all. I just don't feel like he was thinking that he is. I feel like sometimes he forgets that he's like such a public figure. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's just and so there's times where paparazzi's not called, but somebody else might be in the area that paparazzi is there, and that was a good one. Long lens, short lens. This felt very more close up than far away.
Talk to me about, so you do see financial troubles. I'm not disagreeing with that. They are having but you talk to me about that. Like, what do you see for their financial troubles?
Financial stuff, I keep thinking that they're gonna have to like liquidate some things or get rid of things like property or to try to like settle some grossing debts with things. I feel like he might have an issue where money is it's not bartered. It might be gambled just because I see money going away, but it's like risky, but it's not on business. So I do feel like he might have a gambling problem and but he's also in treatment or trying to go to treatment. So I do feel like he's trying to get better about it, but I do feel like he kind of was pretty good on it monetarily for a while, but everything is money with him. Money is what makes him. Like money is what so in his mind, money is what makes a man. Like money is here we are, this is this topic. And so that could be where the gambling addiction comes from because he has an image to keep up and he's very high powered. I definitely feel like he needs some not a doctor, but I do feel like there's some cardiac things going on too, maybe like high blood pressure or something going on vascular. Just because I feel a little hyper extended and tightness in chest. But and that could just be stress too. He could be having a panic attack at this moment as I'm connecting to him, and I'm just like, oh. But yeah, I definitely do feel like he's stubborn, and I feel like his stubbornness gets in the way of business. You know. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, he did have a gambling problem. He had an alcohol addiction too. I think,
okay,
I'm not sure where we
okay.
are with either of those. I think they were under control, but
Treatment,
who
treatment.
knows?
He's under treatment. I keep hearing that he's going through treatment. You
Does
know.
he, I mean, she filed for the divorce, but that doesn't mean anything. Like, does he, where do you feel for him? Like, does he want this as much as she does?
I feel like he is really kind of taking things on his own things right now. Like he's really putting himself forward with things. And I feel like in a marriage that doesn't, that you can allow that for a little bit to let someone heal. But I really do feel like he's kind of like taking a stance away. And he's also extraordinarily stubborn. So there was a lot of things that they haven't talked about. And this being so she did this and burned. Now we have the burn on him. The fact that she did this without warning, because I don't feel like he got warning about this. I feel like he kind of got punched in the throat, it feels like. And now that's like angry. You know what I mean? Even though I feel like the kiss was innocent, that picture was innocent, never meant to do that. But no, he's angry and I do feel like he's hurt. I don't feel like he wants to lose her. I feel like he really does love her. But subtly he's just kind of moved away from her over the last couple of years. So this has been kind of like a subtle separation. I don't feel like this was just like we decided to separate. I feel like he's pulled his energy back and it could be a lot about his healing journey, you know? So I feel like he's getting more into like internalizing things. So I feel like he's okay with the idea of the divorce, but he's not okay with the way things went down. You know what I mean? Business wise, he's like, maybe we can make money. So once again, then they go over to business. They're like, okay, let's market it. Let's like monetize this, you know. But personally, I feel like he's feeling there's a part of him who's like, I did excuse myself from the relationship. I'm trying to take responsibility for doing that, but he's also angry at her for making the move in the first place. So
Interesting. Last question on this topic before we move
okay,
on. Like, she is filed, for alimony. They've been over 10 years, which in California, you can get
yes.
alimony for life. And she's also filed for sole custody of the kids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I think this is gonna get ugly, right?
This is gonna get very, 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 very ugly. Because the one thing that he's not gonna have subtracted from his life are the kids. You know, he wants to have say, he wants to have doctor's appointments, he still wants to do those things, more so now than he probably has been doing. You know what I mean? Because he has been so like eye centric. Um, yeah, this is going to be a tooth and nail fight. So everything is gonna escalate. The alimony, I don't feel like he cares. You know what I mean? Like I'm not he's like it's whatever. I don't have a lot right now anyway. How much are they going to award? You know? And also business-wise, we're a team right now because we're making money off of scandal, right? So cool, whatever. Money's fine. The kids, that's no bueno. Like we're not. He's not okay with that. I do feel like they'll come to an agreement though. Okay? I feel like she did that full custody thing as kind of like poke poke, but also this is kind of so he's angry about that, but I also feel like they're like, but we can work with this. The more scandalous of a divorce, the higher the ratings. I feel like the kids will be fine. I feel like they'll come to an amicable thing. There's going to be visitations. Visitations will be, of course, photographed and everything like that. Like, oh, like he was seen alone with the kids without a supervisor or whatever. You know what I mean?
I do.
But that's what I feel like it is. I feel like he's more like angry at first, hot fire, and then like somebody's like, whoa, 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 let's manage this. Let's market this. Let's make this happen. So I feel like the kids are gonna be just fine. You know, I feel like they're very aware of everything. They have been aware of everything. Nothing's gonna change. I feel like he's still gonna get visitations. So
Well, that's good. Moving on, there's this
Like,
woman who will stay. Her name is Katie Janella,
okay,
Ginella. Katie Janella. What do you got any feelings about her?
she is hyperly power driven. This woman is successful. She's beautiful. She wants to maintain power. She's very eager to get there. She can be very, I don't want to sound negative, but like she can be very egotistical. She can be very callous. She can be very, like, hate to use the word when it comes to a woman, but she can be very calculating. You know what I mean? She can be very strategic to get what she needs. So I don't know if that's who she is, but like that's what I'm picking up. I just feel a woman she's got a plan, you know, and you don't mess with her plan. You know, she is, I mean, she's like a thunderbolt. She is strong as all. Like everything up front is strong. If we look at the nitty gritty with her inside, she has a lot of anxiety. Okay. She's kind of a pick your poison type of gal. Okay. You know what I mean? So she can go a little heavy on the alcohol or a little heavy on this, you know what I mean? To like cover up. She's got a very big roar, like I came out with. But I feel like there's a lot of things inside with her where she just wants to be loved. She just wants to be adored. She wants to be not the center of attention, but she wants to be appreciated. She wants to be nominated. She wants to be seen. She doesn't have to be like, here I am, but she needs to be acknowledged. You know,
Yeah.
she's, she's got a lot of, I feel like she kind of came in a little too strong with something and almost like slammed into a wall. Now she has to kind of like backstep and be like, I kind of overdid things that I didn't do things right. And now she's trying to hypercorrect. It's
Well,
it's a
that
very thing, hypercorrect.
that resonates. So she's on the Real Housewives of Orange County. She just had, I
Oh,
mean, the show itself is in its 19th season. It's her second season.
hmm.
She might have come in. She came in strong last year. I had heard some rumors this season that she was coming in really strong from like a very reliable source, like that she came in with like an agenda to go after two certain people, this woman
Oh,
named Heather and this woman named Gina. Strangely, she's had the rumor is so they just had a cast trip. That's like how the season ends. They go on a cast trip. She was not on the cast trip. Now, normally, when you're not on the cast trip, there's like a pretty egregious reason why. Do you see anything around that? And then I could throw out this other woman's name, Emily Simpson. That's who she had, the rumor is the most issues with, even though she came in gunning for this woman named Heather and Gina. It's Emily and her that have had a pretty rough season together.
I feel like her and Emily, I don't feel like she didn't go on this cast trip intentionally.
You
I feel
think
like that was her.
she wanted it?
I feel like she wanted to not go because
Oh,
like I honestly feel like she was like, no. You know what I mean? I feel like she had to like kind of take a step back from things intentionally because it was one of those things where she was prepared to go and then she was just like, screw this. Ugh. And I feel like that was kind of something that maybe like I told you, she had little regrets about doing. I think she should have gone, but I really tell you, I feel like her and Emily may have had it out because there's a lot of off-camera things with her and Emily, even though she came in gunning for the other two. Heather Gina, I feel like that's a very mild drama. Like I feel like her and Emily have like this very it's beyond contentious. I don't even know if there's like a word for it, but it's like imagine two emperors like wanting people to fight their battles, but they're doing it themselves. Like they're not getting support on it's just weird. But I feel like she's like, I'm not going, and she was very stubborn for the moment, and then was like, ooh. I don't feel like she was asked to sit out. I feel like she didn't go because she was just, no, I'm not doing this. You know what I mean? Like, and then now she's like, shoot, I need to get back on the show. I want to be on the show, you know? Producers didn't mind so much because it does get a lot of circulated truths. But I also know that maybe she could be, um, like I said, excessive, maybe alcoholism or drinking or something like that. She could be trying to take care of herself too as well, but I feel like she didn't go because of stubbornness and then regretted it,
like she
you know?
did nothing. Like they told her not to go. You did this, you did that. She just didn't want to go on her own.
I feel like, yeah, I feel like she like stood her ground. I feel like it was her way of just saying F this, like, you know what I mean? She's got a couple of cast members gunning for her. I feel like she's also got like a couple other things going on, like, because I keep hearing like peripheral like scandal things, and she's trying to clear her name. You know what I mean? So she had all this other pressure and she's just like feeling like she's fighting a battle on her own. So like I said, there's this like anxious person inside her, you know? So she didn't go.
Do you
So
think, even though you say producers might have liked this, because yes, it did get a lot of pickup in the press, like what is the, you cannot go and this, the season's over now. That doesn't mean like she's not coming back next season. We have a long way to go. We have to edit this, air the whole season, and then
yes,
whether she
epic.
comes back or not is like a good, 9 months away. But do you think this will affect her future on the show?
I feel like it will definitely it definitely doesn't help, but I don't feel like I keep hearing reoccurring, so I do feel like she's coming back. I don't feel like it's going to hinder her. You know what I mean? I definitely feel like it might not have been the smartest thing for her to do, but at the same time, scandal causes drama, which causes viewers. So like, you know what I mean? So it's just added drama. She is not she's she's working on trying to get better. I see a lot of healing with her, like really trying to desperately like I feel like this last year and a half or the last 2 seasons really kind of got away from her. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
also feel like she's not a huge fan of being a villain. You know? She wants to be
Yeah.
respected, you don't respect the villain. So I think everything just kind of overwhelmed her and she got swept up, you know? She's incredibly strong, but we all get fragile in those moments. And so that's where she kind of is right now, but I still feel reoccurring. I see her back on the show.
You see her
You know?
back. Well,
I
yeah,
do.
I mean, look, you have no control over your edit. That's the one thing she probably has learned. Like, and she will have no control if she stays with the show, which you seem to say she will. So, I mean, she needs to somehow look, if it's Real Housewives is not for everyone. Everyone comes in with a plan and you have no control over it. You will say one word and they will edit it a certain way and they will decide very early on if you're getting a villain edit or a kind edit, and it just is what it is. You really probably did nothing wrong, maybe, and just that you're the villain this season. That's it.
Yeah, and I think it kind of like it like mutated her into like her private life too and how she responds to things and like made things a little bit more like where she was more like you know, popping off on things where she would normally think about things and plan things and calculate things and do those things. You know what I mean? So this kind of made her a little bit of a loose trigger. So I feel like she'll accept the idea of the villain to keep being seen. Because remember, at the end of the day, she just wants to be seen. She wants to be, she doesn't want to be characterized as an evil person. But then I feel like it also kind of like is daunting how and trying to make her life outside not seem villainous. You know what I mean? So maybe that's why she's working on herself because I feel like she kind of went with the villain thing and then ran with it and was like, oh no. And that's where she's hypercorrecting, you
She's
know?
hypercorrecting. Interesting. Well, it's going to be an interesting season.
Yes.
Let's move on to this woman. Her name is Meredith Marks.
Okay, okay.
What are you feeling
Is
about Meredith?
Meredith is like she is another intensely strong person. I feel like she can be a very good team player. She definitely likes the idea of the soulmate. Like she has a lot of like spiritual nature to her, but she's also at the same time she can be very like vindictive. Like easily gets into the jealousy aspect of things, easily gets into like, you know, topics of like things and she can escalate things a little bit more, you know what I mean, but she also has this like softer side of her too, which I thought was cute that they kind of gave me her like romantic side first, but she like really loves the idea of a soulmate, really loves the idea of like this powerhouse type deal, but she's also like on the other side of the scale, she's like she has two type personality, like type A and type A,
I
but on
wonder,
both
I
sides.
wonder if she's a Gemini like I am.
She probably could be. I don't know, man,
I
because I just
know.
see 2 faces with her because she's got this really, like, beautiful, positive, soft side, and then this other side is, like, the devil and the angel type deal, and she, like, can be very vindictive. Vindictive. That's the word I'm getting right now. Vindictive.
Vindictive. I can see that about Meredith. Well, she's on a show called Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. She
Oh,
too has some stuff going on around her. Now there is this rumor. Now we don't really know for sure. I mean, I have an idea. There's a rumor that she was suspended. I mean, she's still there. She's still on the show, but that she was temporarily suspended.
okay.
Before I get into her statement on
She's
this matter,
yeah. There is definitely a lot of legality and legal troubles going on with her too as well. a lot of legal troubles. And that's what I'm really, really picking up with her. She's got a lot of she's really trying to put one foot in front of the other to try to get things mended. Meredith was, things got out of, I keep hearing things got out of hand. Things got out of hand, you know? So her character of like the two side of things, you know what I mean? One's trying to say out, be like, oh, things came out of hand. And then the other side of saying she deserved it. You know what I mean? Not Meredith, but somebody else did. I feel like there's definitely some legal trouble going on here because I do feel like there's a judgment happening here
Legal
outside
trouble regarding this, or do you see legal trouble just in her personal life that
our personal life, and also probably maybe something to do contractually or something like that. I don't know. I just feel like there's a mounting trouble that's happening with her because I do feel judgment or judgments around her.
interesting?
So legal wise with things. Um, I feel like she is not really getting counseling right now, and she probably should. You know what I mean? And she's just very, very stuck, but she's angry, angry, you know?
She's angry too.
She wants to be seen as like I said, I feel like there's a part of her who wants to be like the positive person of things, you know what I mean? But then I feel like she feels like Rotten Tomatoes keep get thrown at her, and then she just has to be this person to protect herself, and she self isolates and she criticizes and this whole thing about her being suspended was like honestly it was almost like necessary because I feel like things were getting to a place where it was going to get really, really bad and we didn't want things to get physical,
Well, a
you know.
lot of people, it's funny you mentioned physical. A lot of people say that that's what it happened. A lot of people in the know are saying that's what happened, that she called this other woman Brittany, which I don't think this would get you suspended. What do I know? She called this woman Brittany an anti-Semite and a pedophile, which, I mean, you do, I mean, and those are harsh things to say, but I don't know if that leads to a
Uh,
suspension. Now,
no, I feel physical contact leads to a suspension.
right. And there are people that work on this show that have one viewpoint that have been in my ear. Now, Meredith has made a statement. I was not suspended and have never been physically violent in my life. Now, no one mentioned physical violence. So you just did. I find that an
Huh.
interesting statement. Like it's almost like, like if the police knock on your door because you're having a party and it's loud and you're like, I was nowhere near Nicole Brown's house that night. Well, we're not accusing you of killing, being the OJ killer.
Exactly.
It's kind of like you just like that's so
You just
I
kind of
found this, yeah, like I mean, it's funny you mentioned physical violence. I found this statement interesting. I was not suspended and have never been physically violent in my life. I don't think anyone was mentioned physical violence. I think she just did. Please stop fostering these lies started by some people work overtime with their smear campaigns. So she's implying like it's her castmate and she was never suspended. She is there, but you could still be suspended for a day, an hour. There's suspensions. It's like in school, you get suspended, you still go back unless you're expelled. So suspended doesn't mean expelled. So it is interesting. I found that it's funny you say physical because I didn't tell you that, and no one has
no.
mentioned that. I think she outed herself. I think.
I 110%. I definitely agree because I feel like, yeah, so calling some of those things is, you know what I mean? Words are words, but I can definitely see a physical attack here. You know what I mean? Where she had to be removed from the environment. Um, and like I said, there are things that other side of her doesn't want to be villainized. She wants to be seen as that a happy, positive person, but this right now, I do feel like she's trying to push on to somebody else or to push them, say, well, they pushed me, so I pushed back. You know what I mean? Yeah, there was pushing. You know what I mean? But I do see a physical altercation that would have definitely had her removed. And then that leads to legal issues outside too, as well, because that other person is going to definitely press charges personally, you know what I mean, for like emotional damages or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, don't
Maybe
mess up.
that's what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, if someone put their hands on me, I would be pressing charges. There's nothing you could say to me that would
Oh, yeah.
cause me to change my minds. Like I would be, the ship would have been sailed if you.
Oh, absolutely. It's just uncalled for. Like words are one thing, and we have to be
Mhm.
careful with the words anyway, because it can hurt just as much as the physical punch. But you know what I mean? There's other ways that we can manage our need to reach out and smack somebody. But this was a launch. Like she launched at this person. That's what I'm feeling. So I mean,
Interesting.
I hope that she gets her, her good angel to speak up a little bit prouder, because I know she's got a good side to her too. But maybe this was a massive lesson. Maybe this was a catalyst in her existence to actually think about that. Being that she said, I've never been physical before, what led her to be physical? And maybe she can learn from that. You know what I mean? And there can be some rapid healing. I like to have a
Yeah.
positive spin. I don't like to, you know me, I don't like to dump on anybody,
No,
but
you don't. And I'm not jumping on her either. I'm
no,
just,
we're not. I know we're just airing stuff, but I do hope that she finds her soul again. And I hope she finds her soulmate too. I don't feel like she's happy.
you don't with her marriage.
No, I don't feel happy with her. I feel like she has this idea of love, you know? And I feel like their marriage is it's safe, but safety doesn't always mean comfort. Safe just means you have a meal tomorrow, you
Yeah,
know?
like they spend, this is why I'm not married. Because if someone were married to me and they said David is the safe option, that to me is the worst kiss of death. I would never want someone out there saying I was the safe option.
Oh,
That's,
110%.
I'd rather be
Because
single forever.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like there's definitely like an area where we like, okay, we feel safe with our person with comfort, but they're not because they're safe. There's all these other qualities. You know what I mean? So if you describe your relationship as safe as your first word that comes up to it, then yeah, then I would definitely, think about, am I in the right relationship? And how do they feel about it? Because obviously, if they think you're the safe option too, it would be just as heart-wrenching, right? To just be other people's safety nets. I guess it's
Yeah.
like, those friends you make like pacts with. If you don't married by your 60 or something like that, you guys will get married or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, if you guys aren't going to marry now, then why are you going to get married then? Doesn't make sense. It's the safe bet.
Yes, well, I mean, look, she's in her she's in her sixth season, but in the beginning, when the show first aired, her and her husband were estranged. Now they've gotten back together.
Oh,
Also, they live apart in some theory. Like he has a big job in Ohio, I believe, and she doesn't even live in Salt Lake, even though she rents a house to be on the show. She spends her time in LA and New York and different
hmm.
places. So they do, not that that can't work. I know people like Belinda Carlisle, the lead singer of the Go-Go's. She has, if you know who the Go-Go's are, I don't know if anyone, but okay, I
Absolutely.
mean, we're like around the same age, you and I. So she has been married, she and her husband have been married for decades. I think they just had their 40th anniversary and they just openly don't live together. She lives in India half the year. She lives in New Mexico. It works. It works for
It,
them.
well, it works wonderful for people. And sometimes I feel like that little separation of each other is fantastic. Like, when my husband and I got COVID, we ended up sleeping in different rooms. He had COVID first, and then I slept in the guest room. And then afterwards, we were kind of like, we spent 2 weeks at like a week and a half apart from each other, like in the same house, but like, separated. And I was like, was that actually kind of enjoyable? He's like, that was amazing. I was like, yes, it was amazing. So I feel like those type of things are great to have your separation as long as you have the respect and the communication. It wasn't like we were ignoring each other. We communicated with each other. We were in the same house, but we were both self-isolating, sick. You know what I mean?
Right,
Different ways to cope
totally.
in. But at the same time, it was really enjoyable. So I feel like people do that because it's not neglect. She feels neglected. It's not the communicative relationship. It's not the soulmate relationship that she's looking for. You know what I mean? Or the idea of soulmate. I feel like soulmates are like, we can talk for hours about that stuff. I have a very controversial view on soulmates. So,
Oh gosh, I could talk about that stuff forever too. We'll have to do a show on that because
yes.
I have a very controversial view on relationships and just yes.
And humans. I have a very controversial thing on relationships. I don't feel like humans are meant to be monogamous. I feel like we're trained to be monogamous,
Do
you
you
know?
think people have more than without we could do it 1 second chat on this your
Yes.
large theory about soulmates, but do you think people have more than one soulmate or don't have a soulmate at all? It sounds like you think they have a soulmate.
I feel like people have a soulmate, but I feel like the soulmate is more of a person that puts us through our biggest test. I don't feel like soulmates are easy. I don't feel like, it's not like, oh my God, this person, we're so easy. I'm like, that's amazing. You found somebody that you can really communicate with, but it doesn't mean you're a soulmate. Soulmates usually make you work. They make you face your inner demons because of who they are and the pull that you have towards them. You force each other to get better. And when you force each other to heal, healing sucks. Nobody wants to do it. So half the time
Yeah.
people run away from the idea of this person that you feel so bonded with, connected with. It's like in your solar plexus, you feel the connection. but you also know that you have to jump through hoops to be able to even have that thing. So a lot of people just end up being platonic soulmates. Platonic soulmates absolutely work too as well. I don't feel like it always has to be a relationship. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that you're like, this is your person and now you have to be with them. They're your lobster and you live forever. No, 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 no. It's a person who really pushes you to be the best version of yourself. But also in the same time, you do the same to them. So a lot of times people just bounce off each other because one doesn't want to do the work and the other one does. And then it goes on for the rest of their lives that they miss each other, you know?
Interesting. Yeah, we could do a whole show on that. And yes, seeing your soul, this is why when people really want to be single, they date people that are bad for them. I'm convinced that that is like you actually getting what you want. You're playing victim, but you're choosing people that you know are bad for you because you're just scared to fall for someone. And this just makes your life easier. Woe is me, I'm meeting the most horrible guys. Well, yeah, of course you are, because that's what you really want.
Well, the thing is, those people go into those same relationships because they realize that they have to heal in order to accept a good relationship. So if they already know what they're going to get, it's like going to a restaurant and ordering the same food every time. I'm not going to explore anything else. And it always gives me indigestion. I always know it's going to give me heartburn, but I like the flavor of it and I eat it. But I know later on in the evening I'm going to regret it. You know what I mean? But I know I'm going to regret it. I know I'm going to get hurt and I know this is damaging. So at least it's less anxiety. You see what I'm saying?
I
But something
do.
you never know if that pillow, that soft pillow is going to catch you again. Is it going to be like the first night and the best sheets you've ever slept with, and the second night is not as good? You know what I mean? It's just you don't know. And then you realize it is good and it is good. And then, but the anxiety slowly goes, but people don't give themselves enough time to actually get to that comfort space with a person because they crave the quick pain because they're used to it. It's it's
Interesting.
yeah, another thing we could talk about for hours and hours and
You
hours.
could come on here and just do not psychic type shows. We could just do therapy because this is
I know.
I like agree with everything you're putting down as far as that goes. Well, listen, everyone needs to go to the psychic source. Use the code Velvet. You get a $20 reading. Everyone's great. You can search for any psychic. You can just get in the waiting room. And if you do find a psychic like Raquel that you want to go to, you have to wait. Like when you're online, it will say available, and then you click on that and you get put in the queue, I believe. If people try to schedule an appointment, that's great. It doesn't qualify for the $20. So lots of people have been telling me, why can't I schedule an appointment? I'm like, that's not how this works. But when you're online, it will say online, and then they just go into the queue. So
Exactly, and if they enjoy it, you know what I mean, become a regular member, they always have member coupons and member codes, all
totally,
kinds of things all the time, and once you're a member, you can schedule an appointment with, I feel like, a number of advisors. I'm not sure if it's open to everybody. I know it's open for me, where you can schedule an appointment for next Tuesday or, I really wanna talk to her in the next hour. Oh, she has a selection open. You know what I mean? It's like cutting in line. Hint, hint. So if you see someone's got a line and they have an appointment in an hour, book it. I know you have to wait an hour before you can book it. So you can book it and then basically you just cut through the line.
totally. No, there's a lot, and a lot of the people that listen to this are members now, and they're telling me about like their second and third. There's one
Oh,
guy who listens to me who tells he's literally running down the list of like, if you ever have new psychics in the program, here's my top. I'm like, God, how many readings have you had? But I love it. I love
love
it.
that.
Me
I
too.
love that.
It's
It's so
great to
good.
join. Thank you for another great chat. You're going to be back. So thank you. Hopefully this doesn't, I didn't take up too much of your time. I appreciate
Not
it.
at all. Not at
Okay.
all.
I could
Always
talk to you
enjoy.
for hours. So
I know. And we should totally do a show on just like therapeutic sessions and
I would
like
love that. Okay. I'm going to plan this.
let's do it. I'm on board.
All
I'm
right. Let's
down.
do it. Good talking to you.
Good talking to you too.
Have a good day.
Have a good one. Bye.